I got to eat crow. Like, Max is unwilling to eat crow right now on his Tom Brady stuff. I'm going to have to eat some Nick Foles crow. I did not see this coming, and I hate it, to be like Stephen A. I hate that the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, that they've made their second Super Bowl since the Cowboys have been in one. I can't believe it. I can't believe they're doing it with their backup quarterback. But the answer is Nick Foles, because he played absolutely out of his mind. Now, when it's that lopsided, it takes both. It takes bad defense and good offense. But Nick Foles did all the things that statistically he had been incapable of doing all season long. So I don't want to hear anybody today going, I told you so, I told you so. Nobody told you so. Nobody said that Nick Foles would turn into a third down conversion machine. He'd been 30% this season, and now he can't miss. He couldn't throw it downfield all season. He couldn't complete passes over 20 yards. And yesterday, he couldn't miss. Everything he had been bad at, he was amazing at yesterday. And, I mean, it's not hate to say you're blown away that Nick Foles did this. It's not hate to say he couldn't do it going into this game. Every piece of evidence had suggested it wouldn't happen going up against the best defense in the league. But he did it, and he blew me away, and he blew everyone away who's honest. No one saw this coming. Nick Foles is the biggest surprise.
Well, to me, like I said, Will, I'm on the record saying it was the Vikings defense that was the biggest surprise. And the reason why is because being there, seeing these receivers wide open, not that you couldn't see it on television or whatever, but just the totality of the moment, being inside Lincoln Financial Field, knowing it was hostile confines, that fan base was going to be rabid. My attitude was, Case Keenum would wilt and fold beneath that kind of pressure. It would be a nail-biter, but ultimately they wouldn't do much offensively, and the Eagles would find a way to squeeze this out. I did not expect an annihilation. I did not expect Alshon Jeffrey to be wide open because you had guys in a Viking secondary looking back at Nick Foles thinking he was going to be sacked, and then ultimately the sack was missed, and as a result, Alshon Jeffrey doesn't have anybody within 10 yards of him when he catches a 53-yard touchdown pass, or Torrey Smith on the flea flicker catching a 41 or 42-yard pass, or Zach Ertz getting a 36-yard pass down the left sideline. I did not expect a total collapse by the #1 ranked defense in the entire National Football League, which is why I think Coach Mike Zimmer wasn't available for the media afterwards. Remember, he made his name, made bones for himself in this industry by being a stout defensive mind. It wasn't the offense that let him down. It was the defense that let him down. They got completely obliterated by the Philadelphia Eagles. I did not anticipate that. I did not anticipate seeing so many receivers for the Eagles open. Nick Foles did make good throws, please don't get me wrong, but go and take a look at some of those passes. These guys were wide open, and I didn't see that from Minnesota all year long.
The answer is Nick Foles. And I got no problem eating crow if it's deserved. And I like Nick Foles. I like Nick Foles' attitude, by the way, because he was roundly criticized in the media. Like I was one, probably foremost among people who said it is over for the Eagles. Like that injury to Carson Wentz means they will not advance in the playoffs. They'll get to the playoffs because of the work they've done to that point. But Foles is terrible. They won't advance. And when Foles was asked about those kind of comments, he was very kind of straight up about it. Like, okay, I got to prove people wrong. You know, people see what they, and that's exactly right. There are small sample sizes in the NFL. Even a quarterback who's had 2 full seasons, that's 32 games, you know, and they're just one piece, a lot of moving pieces on the board, a lot is coach dependent, offensive line dependent, etc. So I got nothing against Nick Foles. I just go on what I see. And he looked good with Chip Kelly, and even then you thought maybe they could do better, which is, you know, why they let him go. And then, you know, since with Jeff Fisher, he looked terrible. And even in the previous playoff game, which they won, and Foles was good, but he was good. Everything was 7-8 yards. Like there was nothing beyond 8 yards that he was acting. They didn't design anything for him more than 8 yards. And so I thought, no. The Vikings probably the best overall team left in the playoffs. Case Keenum's an actually good quarterback. They have an excellent defense. They have offensive weapons. Vikings, I think, are going to win the Super Bowl. And they put it on them. They beat the brakes off the Vikings. And a lot of that's the secondary, for sure. For Philadelphia, there was nothing for Case Keenum. And a lot of that was Nick Foles. Doug Peterson designed an offense, just limiting the reads. You know, here, react. And it was on Nick Foles to deliver the ball accurately, which he did all night. He deserves enormous credit. He was much more surprising than the fact that the Minnesota defense got shredded by Philadelphia, a team which has been, when we reevaluate this season, maybe the best in the NFL wire to wire.